And now it's my turn to do this week's opposition view ahead of Sunday's game against Everton at Goodison Park, 2:15 kick-off, live on Sky Sports. It is going ahead. We got the confirmation earlier this week after worries of it being postponed due to policing concerns ahead of the Queen's funeral on Monday. But it is going ahead, and I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by Ethan Maddison, good colleague of mine, big Everton fan, on the social team at GiveMeSport. Ethan, thanks for joining us, mate.
Nah, all good, mate. Happy to be here and preview the game, have a little chat, and yeah, all good.
Good stuff. Well, let's get straight into it. There's no secret that Frank Lampard and West Ham fans don't have the best relationship after what's happened in years gone by. So a win for West Ham this weekend will delight the fans probably more than a win over Everton ever could do, really, given that he's now your manager. But looking from the outside in, Ethan, it doesn't seem like he's doing a fantastic job. I know he kept you up last season. It looked like he was going to take you straight down, but a little bit of flurry of form towards the end of the season, you ended up surviving. No real change in terms of form at the beginning of this season. No wins, 4 draws, 2 defeats in your first 6. What are the thoughts of Everton fans when it comes to Lampard? Because looking outside in, it just looks like he's almost inevitably going to be sacked before the end of the season if things continue.
Look, I think obviously when Frank came in, the club was in a bit of a sticky situation with Rafa Benitez. I'd go as far to say that I've never seen the fan base and the club so far apart. Benitez, ultimately he never should have got the job in the first place. And then obviously when we got rid of him, it was a case of who can we bring in? I know we've been linked with a few names from European football, but ultimately they went with Frank. And look, at the end of the day, we spent Frank and any future managers, regardless of how long he stays, are paying for the negligence and the mass spending. I think 600 million pounds we spent over the last 5 years or so. So obviously the budget's not being there. And obviously, we're stuck. We've got rid of some of them this summer, but we've been stuck with players who are worth little to nothing on big wages, which has kind of limited the resources. I go as far to say that Frank's kind of had at his disposal. Obviously, I think we had a net spend this window of about 20 million. Obviously, losing Richarlison, which was painful. But we beat, the players we brought in. I think obviously the style of play that he's trying to play is the fans have took to him. I think obviously it's common within the media that Lampard instantly, maybe because he's the Everton manager, I don't know, but it's just slate. I don't think he's done too bad a job. I think last season was a case of we've got to stay up, which I've never been in that situation in my life. It was quite it nearly,
you get used to it, trust me.
Yeah. Well, not for you boys at the minute. You seem to know you're down there.
No, that's true.
But yeah, so I mean, he's walked into a tough job, I think, but what he has instantly done is bridge the connection back between the club and the fans. The fans love him. Ultimately, I know we haven't won a game this season. I think, any fan can sit there and say, oh, we were unlucky here, we were unlucky there. But, first game of the season, Chelsea, stupid penalty. Thought we did all right in the game. Lost to Aston Villa, which seems to be a pretty rare occasion when Steven Gerrard's in charge there. But, the 4 games since, the draw against Leeds, the draw against Nottingham Forest, the draw against Brentford, and I forgot the last one off the top of my head, which is bad. But yeah, the 4 draws, it's a case of the players getting better, the style of play is getting better. You can see what he's trying to do. We seem harder to break down. So I think it's harsh to kind of say that he'd be almost in the firing line and wouldn't make it to the end of the season. But obviously Moshiri's managerial record, he turns them over every year. It's not harsh to say, but I think in terms of what he's doing and what he's trying to build, I think Everton fans really like him. I haven't spoke to anyone or heard anyone that's kind of frank out. But yeah, I think ultimately he's took a hard job on in Everton. We have maybe we need to kind of come to terms that we're not the club we were 5 or 6 years ago, where we were competing in Europe, which is painful because other teams have done it on far lesser budget, having spent a lot less money. But that's the reality now. We're not the team finishing 7th, 8th, 9th that we were. So obviously, if Frank can get us back anywhere near there, then I think he's done a good job. Obviously, winning a trophy along the way would be nice. 24 years of age, I've been to one FA Cup final, 2 semis. I've seen us win on 1 occasion. So it'd be nice to get a trophy. But yeah, I think the main thing is just stabilising the club, getting us back to where we were, and trying to kick on and get back to it.
Well, you're not alone on the trophy drought front. I'm 34 and I've seen West Ham in 1 FA Cup final in my lifetime. And the odd semi-final here and there, obviously last season with the Europa League. So you're not alone on that front, mate. But we'll get on to what style Lampard's trying to implement at Everton in a little bit. But you mentioned there about his the business that he did this summer. I think it was spent about 85 million quid, net spend of about 25. But I was looking at it earlier, and it's actually quite impressive in terms of he's got rid of a lot of the dead wood. Richarlison aside, he's probably the only real first team player that left Everton in the summer. And the rest of the exits are, Andre Gomez, Dele Alli, John Joe Kenny, Fabian Delph, Cenk Tosun, all, either not good enough, not getting game time, or just, surplus to requirements. He's replaced them with, first team Premier League standard players in the likes of Dwight McNeil, James Tarkowski, Connor Cody's a solid centre half, Amadou Onana already looks good. Gutted that you beat him. You beat us to him. And then Neil Maupay, proven annoying striker up front, always scores against West Ham. And Idrissa Gueye and James Garner. So solid business, I think. And you also mentioned that previous managers have spent 500 million quid over the last 4 or 5 years. And that seems more of a measured summer and a more a more purposeful summer in terms of what Lampard wants to achieve long term.
Yeah. No, I think obviously spot on. I think in terms of the defence, look, Michael Keane, he's another one where we spent a lot of money on him. I had questions when we signed him from Burnley. I think obviously any player on a given day can look a solid player, but I think physically he's not quite at it. I think in the centre back option as a whole, I think Yerry Mina on his day when he's fully fit is a really good centre half, but unfortunately he's made out of glass and he spends most of his time lying on the surgery table. But to bring in the club captain from Wolves, Connor Cody, Tarkowski in as well, big no-nonsense centre-half, bringing them kind of players in who actually kind of have a bit more leadership. I think we're a team that was kind of deflated of leaders. Ultimately, I do think, towards the back end of the season, players did kick on and put the effort in and got us over the line. But certainly the names you've mentioned there, I mean, in particular, Cenk Tosun, we paid £30 million for him. He was on 100 grand a week. Absolutely ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. Obviously, the likes of Mikalenko coming in. I did think even that was the only good thing Rafa probably did. I think Digne, over the years, we know he's played for some top clubs. You saw him starting to fall off. To get the best part of 30 million out of Villa for him and invest it in a young, hungry Vitaly Mikalenko for 18, 19 million, and also get Maddison in, who wears the number 3. That bothers me a bit. He's a right back wearing the number 3, but that's a story for another day. But them sort of signings, moving on some of the older players and getting a good fee for them is important. Obviously, in terms of Richarlison going, look, any Everton fan will tell you, and you'll probably see as well. I know with the Spurs link you guys have got, but he's one of them players where on his day he's a world beater, but on his day is 1 in 5 games. And for the money we got for him, obviously it was sad to see him leave, but like you mentioned, the players we've been able to bring in, that Andre Onana from Lille looks really solid. I know you guys were linked with him. Maybe West Ham fans have done a bit of extensive research on him. James Garner at United, didn't know too much about him, but United fans that I've spoke to hold him in really high volume. So, and then bringing Idrissa Gueye again, another leader into the team. It's a real mix of leadership and
Premier League experience as well.
Yeah, the Premier League experience is important, James, because obviously, like I say, we've got young players in the team that we're trying to kick on. Obviously, Anthony Gordon's there. And I think it's important that you've got players in the team that have the experience and have the know-how. I mean, I've seen in the Leeds game, I don't know the Leeds right back, but he was trying to wind up Gordon. They ended up coming head to head. James Tarkowski runs over there, first in between them. Do you know what I mean? We seem like we've got a bit more of a bullish squad now, who are all on the same page, all working together. So I think, the signings we've done and, the incomings, as well as getting some of the high earners, Andre Gomez as well, ever since Son broke him in half, he hadn't been the same player. But he seems to be establishing a real kind of, plan of how he wants to do it and the sort of players that he wants in his side. And obviously, the main thing is hard working. So, and I think we've got that hard work and the ability to run ground. So yeah, happy with the summer overall.
So in terms of all of that business and the type of players that he's brought in and kind of the squad that he's beginning to build, what is he trying to achieve in terms of style of play? And how are we going to see that in full flow at the weekend at Goodison Park?
Look, I think the style. I mean, it's tricky because I mentioned the style of play, but he's flipped between three centre halves and two centre halves in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So for me, as an Everton fan, at Goodison, I think on our day we'll give anyone a game. Do you know what I mean? And I think obviously, but what he's trying to do, we want to see a style of play where that we're moving forward, the ball's moving forward, and there's a sequence to what we're doing. For large parts of last season, it was just you were watching it just like what is going on sort of thing. Obviously, now that we've got Calvert-Lewin hopefully back for the weekend, he's been a big miss. Obviously, we brought Morpie in. As you mentioned, he's a bit of a pain, bit of a pest, rattles a few skins and that. But, Anthony getting the service wide into Anthony Gordon to get the ball into the box. Do you know what I mean? And now we've got, Onana's got legs in midfield. He'll be pushing forward. Alex Iwobi, by the way, I do have to just kind of chip in and say, last season, I wrote him off. What a player. Like, genuinely, yeah. I don't know what Lampard's done with him in centre midfield, but another one who's got the legs, do you know what I mean? And gets involved with the forward play. So, yeah, I think, look, at the end of the day, it'll be, if Calvert-Lewin does come into the side, it's his first game back. So it's, I wouldn't be expecting, I'm not going to be expecting a world-beating performance, but certainly attacking, free-flowing football, getting up the pitch. Obviously, you guys pose your own threat in your own right. And everyone's aware of that. I think obviously the last couple of years, what Moyes has done is really impressive. But like I say, yeah, I'm confident going into the game that we can, kind of, now that Calvert-Lewin's back in the side, albeit first game back, we can see a bit more of what we saw maybe under Ancelotti, where the style of play we were playing, progressive, expansive football down the wings into the box, creating chances. Because yeah, that's what we need to be doing. So
looking ahead to Sunday, I mean, we've had a little bit of success at Goodison Park in recent seasons. Won 4 of the last 6 visits, including the last 2 1-0 victories, both of those. But we'd only won 1 of the previous 18 in the Premier League, previous 18 trips, and that's 70 visits to Goodison Park in all competitions in our history. We've only won 14. So, although recently we've had a bit of luck at Goodison Park, it hasn't always been that way for West Ham. But I mean, I'm quietly confident we can go there and kind of disrupt Frank Lampard's growth in terms of building that squad and getting into a rhythm. But which player, if there's one player that David Moyes is sitting down in his office at Rush Green this afternoon and he's going, right, there's one player at Everton I've got to stop. Who is it?
I'm telling you now, mate, and I'm saying it hand on heart. It's Alex Iwobi, because he's just honestly the way. I don't know if you watched the derby and the game against Liverpool, but mate, he's unbelievable. He's gone from someone who he comes out walking out or off the bench. He's got his hands in his sleeves. He doesn't look like he's bothered. Doesn't look like he wants to be there. Mate, honestly, the way that he's getting the ball, the distribution, the volume of passes, the distance he's getting on it, he's just a completely different player. And I think he's one of them where, because he's not naturally a centre midfield, he also drifts forward. So yeah, it's Iwobi, because yeah, if you speak to Everton fans, if you engage on Everton Twitter, everyone's saying the same thing. He is at the minute for me, he's the first name on the team sheet by an absolute landslide. Which again, a year ago, I think I'd have seen a pig flying out the roof before I'd be saying something like that. So yeah,
it's madness, isn't it? How some players can 1 minute be written off and then the next be fantastic. I mean, because I was actually going to bring him up earlier that he seems like one of those players that was a waste of money, because it was a big fee, wasn't it, for Arsenal, for Iwobi. Yeah. And I remember when that deal went through, and it was like, what? No, that's a lot of money for someone that isn't going to be the best player in the Premier League, if you know what I mean. Because at the time, 30 million quid was, now it's just a normal transfer fee, isn't it? But yeah. In terms, let's flip it. In terms of West Ham players, which ones will David Moyes be looking at in order to exploit any Everton weaknesses? Where are the weaknesses, and which West Ham players do you think can exploit them?
I think it kind of depends on how Lampard sets up. If he goes with the 3-back, obviously, Patterson's really young, fairly inexperienced, has made a good start. Was a bit annoyed the other week. 85th minute, he's through on goal. Should have scored against Leeds, got us the win. But he likes to bomb forward. I think that side of the pitch, the right-hand side in general, I'm not sure who will start. Damari Gray, obviously you mentioned Dwight McNeil coming in, we haven't been too impressed with what he's offered since he's came in, but yeah, certainly the right-hand side and getting balls into the box as well. I think it's one of them where if you go 1-0 up, if you go 1-0 up at Goodison Park, I've heard Ben Foster say it on his podcast before, the fans just switch, do you know what I mean? And I think with the more inexperienced players, the likes of Maddison in the side, they're the kind of players that would be kind of the most vulnerable, I suppose, to that kind of atmosphere and the pressures that come with it. So yeah, if there was one area, it would be that right hand side of the defence that I'd be a little bit concerned about. But at the same time, we bought Seamus Coleman for £60,000, 2008, 2009. And obviously he started, really young, inexperienced, and obviously look at the player that he turned out to be. What a servant. So yeah, that's what I'd be thinking. Yeah.
Cool. Brilliant. Well, before I let you go, Ethan, let's get a score prediction from you, mate.
Well, it'll have to be positive. I do think. Listen, I know you guys haven't had a great start either. I think we both on 4 points.
Yeah.
You guys 1-1, so you've obviously lost a fair few. I'll go 2-1 Everton, mate. I can't. You're an attacking side like us. I think obviously you've got problems, or you can cause problems up the top end of the pitch. So I can't maybe see the clean sheet, especially with Pickford injured, Begovic starting. That's a bit of a pain. But look, I'm confident going into it, and I'll go 2-1 Everton.
Fair play. I mean, I think it'll be tight. I've been tempted to say 1-0, a hat trick or 1-0 over the last 3 seasons at Goodison Park, but I think you're right. I think both teams will score. I don't think West Ham will keep a clean sheet. We've been a little bit better defensively recently, but I just think with Neil Maupay there, he always scores against us, and Calvert-Lewin loves a goal against us as well. So I think it'll be tight. I'm going to go 2-1 West Ham. I think we'll just about nick it. It's going to be tight. It'll probably be a late winner for either side, I would have thought. But yeah, I think the interesting battle will be Rice and Onana in midfield.
Yeah.
Because obviously we were very interested in Onana before I think the story was that he wanted to play for Everton instead of West Ham because of the Lampard effect. He wanted to play under a previously world-class midfielder, which I suppose you can understand. But
yeah, to be honest, we probably just threw an extra 10 grand in his pocket. Do you know what I mean? So,
probably. Yeah. I mean, the official line was Lampard, and actually the unofficial line is more money. Probably. Yeah.
But now, listen, look, I'm looking forward to it. It's always, it is always a good game. On West Ham as well. I have many a visit to Upton Park. One of my favourite games there actually. I don't even remember when Baines scored 2 free kicks, one in either corner, and Lukaku got the winner on his debut. That was I've got fond memories of playing West Ham. But yeah, you're a different animal these days. So we'll have to be careful.
Yeah, we're getting there, mate. I remember that game very well, actually, because Lukaku's goal meant that I finished bottom of my fantasy league that season, and I had to do the forfeit, which wasn't great. But yeah, I remember that game very well. But yeah, you're right. We have been a lot better over the last couple of years. But mate, really appreciate you joining us this week, and obviously good luck for the rest of the season after this weekend, of course.
Yeah, you too, mate. Appreciate you having me on. All right.